Hi everyone, this is Ricky with Bromero Cards. I hope you're having a great week and we're going to be making an awesome card today. Colorado Craft Company sent me over some stamps to use so that I can make some creations here, and we're going to be using this one, which is called Get Well. It's part of their Big and Bold series. Basically what we're going to do right now is go ahead and get this stamped out onto the watercolor paper. Now I am using Versamark for this because I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, but you'll want to make sure that you stamp this out a lot on watercolor paper because there's texture on there, and the ink doesn't necessarily get into every like nook and cranny of the paper, so you have to continuously stamp it to make sure that everything is going to stick to the card. And as you're doing it, you rub it really hard to make sure you get a good imprint or a stamp. And I did this probably 4 or 5 times. I actually inked it up. And then as you can see here, I'm just going faster and faster as I'm doing it, and pressing and rubbing and pressing and rubbing and stamping and looking at it. It's a whole process, but you have to do this when you're doing watercoloring or anything that's on watercolor paper. You have to make sure that it's really covered. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get that taken out, and we're going to go ahead and heat emboss this. I'm going to bring out my little heat embossing station that I have. Everything in one container, because you guys know me, I hate the feeling of embossing powder. I cannot take it. Ugh. So here you're seeing me actually, I'm using silver on this to go ahead and get this heat embossed, and I'm going to cover that up with the powder, and then we're going to go ahead and get that heat embossed. I decided just to leave this in because the magic of heat embossing can look really cool when you can actually see it, and during this you can actually see it melting. So I decided to leave it in so everyone could see that joy that I get every time that I do this. Now we're going to start doing the watercoloring part, and I'm fake watercoloring because I'm using Karin watercolor markers. And I call it fake because I'm not really good at watercoloring. So basically what you do is you use the markers just like you would a Copic or any other marker. You put a little bit less down, and then what you do is you just take your water brush along with some water, and you spread that color out. And it's pretty much that easy. It's not very hard. You just get it to go out onto the paper. Now there are some times where you have to be a little strategic and put ink in places where it needs to go and spread it out and all that great stuff. But one key to doing watercoloring on this is you don't overwork the same area at the same time, because your water will start to pill and it just becomes a mess. So what you do is you kind of skip over your illustration and go to different places and watercolor there, let that dry, go to another place, start watercoloring, then go to another place, and let all the places dry. But eventually you do come back to the places that you'd painted before. So for example, here I left off this leaf, which is fine because I needed to go ahead and get that painted. Not even for sure why I missed it. But as you see here, the color just spreads. It's that easy. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the water brush, and if it still has color from it, I'll go to another area that I've already painted and just go over that to make it a little darker and a little more vibrant. And then I do that through this whole stamped image. I'll go back and forth between different areas. Here you see me adding a little more purple to the blue area because I felt it really wasn't purple enough. So I just go in with the marker, add a little bit of purple, and spread it out. And then what I'll do is let this dry, go to another area, and then if it dries and it's a little too light, then I'll go back and add a little more purple. And basically you could just do a light blue cover off over the whole plant and then go back in with your purple if you wanted to do that as well. So you can see here it's starting to get full, but I decided to take a break and do the leaves, and I'm basically doing the leaves the same way. I'm putting down the light green, then I'll go in with the mid green and put some lines through, or actually this is the darkest green. Put a little line in, and then I'll take the lightest green and go around the sides. And then what I'll do is I'll just add more water and get it to blend some more, just for it to blend out so it's not so dark and a little enjoyable. And I'll add a little more here because I wanted the green to be a little darker. And then what I'll do is I'll leave this leaf, and then I'll go back and work on the other leaf as the other one's drying. And I'm basically doing the same concept. I'm laying down the colors with the markers and then just placing water all over the whole image, trying to mix the colors, trying to get it covered, and then I'll go back in with the dark green and I'll do the same just like I did for the other one. I'm just going to add a bunch more color, and then I'll take some water in and go ahead and get that mixed out. And as soon as it gets to a green that I like, it's pretty much done. And I don't think I went back to these leaves. I think these are the final version of these leaves. Here you're seeing me go back. As you can see, there's some lighter blue areas that have not been colored in all the way. So what I'm doing is taking some water and the purple Karin marker, and I'm just adding water to this area to make it a little more purple. And I did that all throughout the flowers. There's some that are dark purple, some that are dark blues, some that are light blues, light purple. Just to give it a little mix up there, because you don't want everything to be the same color, because then it would just look like one flat image. So if you add variations of color throughout the whole thing, then it'll look, a little fuller. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut this thing out, and I was going to do a white border all the way around it, but I kind of messed up as I was doing it, and you won't see it in the video, but I decided to go ahead and cut all the way up to the pattern, or the line of the image. And then all I did was, because this is heat embossed in silver, I took a silver Sharpie and went around the edges so that the edges of the card are silver, so you can't really see the white. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and heat emboss the sentiment. And as you can see, I did this here in silver, but I also did one in white because I wanted to see what each one would look like on the card. So I just skipped the part of the silver because it's the exact same process for the white image that I'm about to do here. And I'm just using some Brutus Monroe fine embossing powder. And I'm just going to put that across the card, make sure that there's no powder left over, and then I'm going to go ahead and get that heat embossed as well. Now, as you can see here, I have both of these images. I'm going to go ahead and cut out both of these with this sentiment banner die that I have here, which is perfect. But actually, after I do this, I decide that I'm going to fussy cut the sentiment as well. So this is kind of a wasted thing, but I kept it in so that you can see what I was doing. And then here you can see that I'm going back and forth with the colors of the embossing powder, and I decided to go ahead with the white. And I'm going to just go ahead and get that fussy cut out as well. Wasn't very hard. It's not a hard process to do this. It's pretty simple, actually. And sometimes people forget you can actually do that with a sentiment. You can fussy cut it out. Now that I have the flower all cut out, I'm going to go ahead and get some 3M foam tape behind it. And I was trying to figure out exactly where I needed to put tape, because unfortunately the sad part of this card is some of this image has to be cut off the card, which is heartbreaking because you just spent all that time working on it. And I probably should have tried it out on the card to see where I didn't need to paint. But anyway, we go ahead and remove the release paper on this, and we're going to go ahead and get this on a black piece of cardstock. I believe this is cut at 4 1/8 by 5 1/8, I believe. I can't, no. Anyway, the measurements are slightly smaller than 4 1/4 and 5 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and pop this sentiment onto the card, and I'm basically going to do that with some 3M foam tape and a little bit of liquid glue that goes behind it so it could stick to the flower and the stem of this card. And then we're almost done, actually. We're going to go ahead and get this glued on, and then we are going to glue this panel onto a card base that's cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and then folded in half. It's a top folding card. And we're going to go ahead and get that glued down. So as I'm doing that, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you so much for coming along with me. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Also want to I want to give thanks to Colorado Craft Company for sending me these images to color. This week I've had 3 other cards come out, and I hope you go check out my Instagram at Bromero Cards. You can also find me on Facebook under Bromero Cards. I mainly do Instagram, and I do pretty awesome stories. So Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I hope you have a great week. I hope things are kind of getting back to normal for you guys. And thank you very much for being here. You guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.